Hello and welcome to another Let's Play. Me, GamerWolfSix of Sileo, Tales of a New Dawn. Before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, you can get it for free on itch.io. But if you want to support the people that make this game and or get the news version earlier, you can go to their Patreon, which is $5 a month, $54 a year. So, on the last Let's Play, we had a pretty bad first date with Logan, the polar bear. I mean, it wasn't bad per se, it was just... there was no spark, except for the main character who was just also ready to jump that guy's bones. But now we're walking home with him, and I guess my guy's gonna try and get into his house or something? I don't know, we'll have to see. Now again, this also kind of brings the thing where another character's like, so what's up with all this sniffing stuff? You're like, that seems to be a big thing all of a sudden. Like, I don't know. Still feel like maybe something's changed. Like, main character's become a vampire of smells or something. I don't know. Reset face. And begin. Having reached the beginning of the waterfront path, both Logan and I walk side by side at a moderate pace. I knew that I had limited time remaining with Logan, and that I needed to make it count. My success here would ultimately determine whether I capture my prey once and for all. With that in mind, I once again persisted with my attempts at fostering conversation. My previous attempts had been hit or miss, primarily miss, but nonetheless, I felt as though the key to my success would lie within the right choice of topic. If only I had some clue of what it would be. So, Logan, do you have any flatmates living with you? Family? Anything like that? No. You live alone then? Yes. Nice. Must be stressful paying rent with arts and crafts, but I bet the privacy is worth it, huh? Yes. What do you do with your time? Like, what does the average day look like for you? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, watch movie, bed. But you do crafts and such too, right? Where exactly do you fit that in? Wherever. Okay. Is it mostly just horror movies you watch? Or do you like the other things as well? Mostly horror. Do you really watch a movie every night? Do you usually aim for something new? Most nights. And if I can find one, I've watched almost everything. I see. What's the best one, in your opinion? Descendants? Descendants? I haven't heard of that one. It's a cosmic psychological horror. It messes with the viewer's perception. It's flawless. Wow. Do you think I'd survive watching it? Oh, come on. I'm not scared by kids' cartoons anymore. You know, maybe you and I should watch it together one day. I can come over to your house. We can microwave some popcorn, turn down the lights, get all cozy under some blankets. In response to something I'd said, Logan stopped dead in his tracks as he looked downward at his feet. I recalled Jay's advice. He hadn't said anything yet, but if I looked closely, perhaps I could decode what it was he was feeling. I noticed his arms and legs were held closely to profile. His shoulders were hunched forward slightly, and his stance leaned ever so slightly ajar. He fidgeted with his feet, while desperately avoiding eye contact. Almost all these behaviors indicated a state of uncertainty and nervousness. But there was something slightly more to it than just that. I sensed, what was it, fear? No, not quite. It was intense distrust. I understood the uncertainty. After all, we only met that same day. I knew that I was potentially applying too much pressure with my advances. Something that was a consequence of how badly I wanted Logan, and how little I actually expected to get him. His nervousness could certainly have been tied to this, but my gut told me that it was more strongly intertwined with his distrust in me. But Why the distrust? I mean, I had spent most of the day trying to chat him up. Perhaps the intensity of my advances had sown that distrust? There was little else I could pick up from Logan at this point in time, but Jay's suggestion had been a solid one. I had more information to work with. Sorry, it's really good. Now that I have had otherwise. Information I could use to shape my response more appropriately. I took several large breaths as I recited my forthcoming words over and over inside my head. At long last, it was go time. Time to see if I was really any good at this sort of thing or not. Hey Logan, it's only normal if you distrust me. After all, you've only known me for a day, and I admit, I've been a little pushy. I apologize for that, by the way. Why are you so interested in me? There were so many things I could have said in response to those words. I could have laid it on thick, flirting with the handsome ball of white fluff that stood before me. Admittedly, something of my instinct had already encouraged. Something of my instinct, yeah. But perhaps not the right decision at this moment. I could have bluffed, told him I was interested in him as a friend, that I wanted to get to know all of his inner workings and whatnot. This hadn't been the case until very, very recently, but I digress. There was a myriad of options available to me in terms of what I wanted to say to him, and how, but one in particular stood out. I considered the emotions that Logan was experiencing, and considered how he might respond to certain scenarios. The answer was perhaps not the answer that each and every person would come to appreciate, but it was the right thing to do. After all, I had been kept in the dark, lied, and misled. Not just by Ty, but by many others over the years. Yeah, another guy. I mean, I didn't sleep well last night, but it do be like that. I hated when it was done to me, so how could I, in good conscience, do the very same thing to somebody else? I was going to tell Logan the unredacted truth, words and all, make my intentions very clear, leaving nothing unaccounted for. I know how hard it is to trust people sometimes, especially when you've been burned by it before. I've been there, and I know it's horrible, and that's why I'm going to tell you the complete truth. Even if we're not on the same page, I at least hope you can appreciate my total honesty. Well, the main reason I'm here right now is because I find you extremely attractive. You're an incredibly handsome guy, from head to toe. You're one hell of a guy. I couldn't rightly turn a blind eye to that. The biggest thing I really caught on to, however, was your scent. You're aware were you aware that you carried such an incredible and breathtaking scent? It's easily one of the most magnificent smells I've ever experienced. And, well, all of that aside, I grow more and more curious about you with each passing minute. You do a terrific job keeping it under wraps, but every once in a while, I see glimpses of this person you've buried beneath it all. And you know what? That person actually seems pretty cool. I think maybe we could be friends. Something tells me you could use a good, trustworthy friend, but I'll let you be the judge of that. And with everything that's happened recently, I could really use some new and interesting adventure. Yeah. Some new? No matter where I may lead. So, that is why I'm interested in you. Those are my reasons. Logan remained silent, his gaze still firmly directed on the ground for several long moments, and then, without acknowledgement, resumed walking at the same pace they had before. I matched his pace, and we walked in silence together for a while. And then came the moment where my comprehensive and forthright honesty had finally begun to pay off. I don't have any friends. I used to, here and there, but some moved away, some moved on, and some were never friends to begin with. Real friends are not ones that answer your call. Real friends are not ones that answer your call. They're the ones that call on you as well. But nobody has ever been that kind of friend for me. They're only my friends because they stand to gain something. They're only my friends when it's convenient. And anytime things get hard, they're nowhere to be seen. It sounds like you've had some pretty crappy friends, Logan. I'm sorry you've been through all that. I can understand how hard it can be to trust people after you've had so many knives in your back. But you won something too. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. You're right. It's something I wanted, which drew me to you. But that was nothing to do with why I wanted to be your friend. And if you just wanted me as a friend and nothing else, I would happily accept. And if somebody wants something from you that isn't inherently a negative thing, it ultimately depends on their approach. If they take it, expect it, demand it, that's negative. But it has a lot to do with circumstances. With that in mind, I have shown you my entire hand. You've seen every one of my cards. I have no secret agenda, and perhaps there was something that you wanted from me as well. Perhaps we could help one another in that way. But I sense your distrust, your hesitation, your uncertainty, your nervousness. The last thing I want to do is make you feel uncomfortable, or have you do anything that you don't want to. There's always going to be bad people out there, untrustworthy people, liars, manipulators, and cheats. You might not always know that about them ahead of time. Even the best of us occasionally get taken for a ride, ooh. I know this all too well. But the number one thing you cannot do is cut yourself off. Isolate yourself from everyone. In doing so, you lose all the good with it. And that is a lonely, miserable existence. You have to be brave, be courageous. You have to keep putting yourself out there, knowing full well now and then, you're going to get burned. But good will outweigh the bad, and it will be a huge positive force in your life. I guarantee you this. And when it comes to friends and partners and everything, quite often, it doesn't work out on the first go. But you know the saying, if you want to make an omelet, you've got to break a few eggs. Exactly. And if you keep turning up bad eggs, you still don't give up. You just start looking in a different barn. So, my offer is this. First and foremost, I want you to be comfortable, and do not want to apply any pressure. I merely want to offer you the choice, and let you decide on your own. So, if a friend is what you need, I'll more than happily be your friend. And by being somebody you can trust, somebody you can count on, I hope that you'll, in turn, trust others in the time as well. My other offer still stands as well, if you think that you might want something similar from me. I think we can do business, help each other out, and both get what we want. Soon, we'll reach the point where this path splits into two. Your house is down on the left-hand path, mine's down on the right. When we go our separate ways, I respect your wishes, and should you never wish to see me again. But my offers will be open to you. Take as much time as you like to ponder them. And should you wish to take me up on one, the other, or even both, you need only call. Do you understand? Yes. Here, pass me your phone for a second. I'll send you my contact card. Logan reached into his shorts, retrieving his phone before handing it over to me. He performed the standard process of holding both devices back to back, until a confirmation chime sounded. I then returned it to its owner. Remember, it's your choice what you'd like to gain from this. I respect whatever choices you may or may not make. Okay, thank you. For the remainder of our journey, Logan didn't speak a single word, but for a change, I was accommodating towards this. I had said my piece, delivered my pitch, placed my bid, and made my offer. All the power now rested within Logan's hands. In a way, I felt relief. At various points throughout the day, My restraint hadn't quite been up to par. My intentions had been selfish, and I hadn't really thought about Logan himself, about why he was, the way he was, and what it was he wanted, besides a platter. At long last, we had arrived at the end of the road. At this point, I would travel south in order to reach Diego's house, and Logan would travel north to reach his own. We stopped at a fork before returning to face each other. Logan's face revealed some uncertainty, some doubt, some discomfort. Yet, hidden beneath those emotions, I know something more. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Hey, if I don't see you again, I just want to say thanks for today. All in all, I had a nice time. Logan didn't respond, nor did his expression change in the slightest. For all intents and purposes, this answered the question I had been dwelling on all day. I flashed Logan the faintest smile before turning away, beginning my return journey to Diego's house. It was unfortunate that he hadn't been receptive to my offer of friendship. In my newly found clarity, I found that I didn't really care about the other thing either. Sure, it would have been a good time, but at the end of the day, there are far more important things than that. Nevertheless, while I wasn't proud of every single one of my actions that day, I was proud that I had wrapped things up. I was proud of my honesty, and proud that I respected his wants and boundaries too. And with nothing left to do, or say, I finished my journey back home. Many long hours passed since I returned home, and, let's see, okay, it was only about half an hour before Diego was due to return, and as anticipated, the evening had brought no contact from Logan, and this made sense, and in fairness, was probably a right move after all. Some things were just never meant to happen, and I chalked up today's objective as one of those such things. Beyond that, the day returned little news about Ty, or Spencer as well. Perhaps Diego would have something on his return? But I had little doubt that if there were any major news, I'd have at least sent a text message, or he'd have. The day had been a total bust. I mentally wrote the entire thing off as I lay in bed, pondering what exactly I should do tomorrow. After all, these answers weren't going to find themselves. I needed a plan. Very slow fade. Just as I had been drifting off to sleep, I was brusquely torn from my slumber by a sudden vibration from my phone. It was an early night for me, and Do Not Disturb mode had not yet kicked in. Expecting some kind of garbage notification, I unlocked my device, and felt my heart skip a beat as I saw the name of the sender, Logan. I couldn't quite believe my eyes when I read the contents. It seemed as though he believed we could help one another after all. He instructed me to visit him and provide his address. All of a sudden, I felt strangely nervous. Of course, Logan was a very appealing man, and it had been some time since I met up with somebody like this. But this was somehow something different again. A different kind of nervousness. Something more akin to a mild panic attack. But what was the problem? It was Logan's decision, and God knows I want to take him up on it. I pulled myself out of bed, and scented myself with cologne and deodorant, before briskly donning a pair of sufficiently nice attire. I then gave my fur a quick brush, in attempt to be at least somewhat presentable, before stuffing my belongings in my pockets. Phew. Okay. I'm okay. Let's do this. I took a deep breath in an attempt to soothe my frayed nerves, before heading out the door of the spare room and departing Diego's to begin the all too short walk to Logan's house. The short walk did little to soothe the butterflies that churned around in my stomach as I finally arrived at my destination, standing out front of Logan's house. I trembled slightly. It was somewhat cold out, and I already knew that my trembling was not from the cold. It was another chilly night. This time, a slight dampness was in the air. It seemed as though it might rain tomorrow. I channeled my wilder cousins, giving myself a vigorous shake, in the hope that it would jingle some sense into me. I don't understand that, but okay. Come on, Adrian. You've done stuff like this before. This is a walk in the park. No reason to be nervous. Have you cleaned yourself out, man? It was little use. My body wasn't listening to my instructions. I had spent the entire day working towards this. I'd spent my entire night believing it would happen, and had walked all this way to make it real. There's no backing out now. Imagine how Logan would have felt if I did. It, no doubt, took a lot of courage to extend the invitation. I didn't want to let him down. My heart raced as I forced my legs to carry me towards the door. I spared a nervous laugh for my body's involuntary silliness, as I trembled more and more at each and every step. Finally, I came face to face with the door, and I raised my hand to knock. I rapped my knuckles on the door, announcing my arrival to tonight's companion. Seconds passed, followed by seconds more, bereft of response. Strange. Maybe I didn't knock loud enough? Undeterred, I knocked once more, but this time with greater force, and once again I was met only by silence. I turned around, hoping to confirm the number on the mailbox, but alas, the positioning of the street lights concealed it in darkness. Instead, I reached into my pocket and retrieved my cell phone, unlocking it and pulling up my location on GPS. 6 Rivermore Close, exactly at the address that had been given. Had Logan's nerves gotten the best of him? If so, I could relate. Only now, facing the possibility that no such encounter might occur, had the pounding of my heart begun to ease, ushering in a newfound sense of calm. A sense of calm that would be incredibly short-lived, as my heart quickly returned to a state of panic in response to my phone's vibrating in my hand. One message. Logan, no less. With a nervous grip, I opened into the notification and began reading. Doors open, straight down the hall, first on the left. My emotions were in shambles, and my stomach in knots. Everything I had felt, in perpetual conflict with something else. I still couldn't make sense of it. Strangest of all, beneath the muddled waters of my mental state, I perceived a strange sense of disappointment. Despite this, my logical mind still knew these emotions were irrational. Whatever my subconscious was trying to tell me, it was dead wrong, and I wouldn't let it stand in the way. I was dead sound enjoying myself tonight, and my frayed nerves be damned. I reached forward, grasping the handle of the wooden door, and giving it a shaky twist, and sure enough, the door creaked inward, encouraging me to proceed within. The murder house! I closed the door behind me, and plunged myself into complete darkness. The lights within were all switched off, almost though nobody were home. From my position in the entryway, I can see the current time on what must have been the microwave display, 10:40 p.m. I wonder if this is another dream. It was a single distinct feature that would cut through the oppressive darkness of the surroundings. Straight ahead, looking down what may have been the hallway, I observed a small silver light bursting forth from a tiny crack in the door left, ever so slightly ajar. I'm kind of wondering if we should continue or just cut it. No doubt this was my destination. I took great care to steady my breathing as I cautiously approached the doorway, my fingers crossed I would not trip some manner of concealed obstruction laid in my path. Having arrived, thankfully unscathed, I spared a moment to gather what little courage I had spare. I was hell-bent. I would not let chaotic conflicts rob me of such hard-won and so very appealing opportunity, and thus I reached forward and gave the door a push. Entering the room, I was greeted with the most magnificence of sights. Before me, haphazardly on top of an unmade bed was my wondrous prize, Logan's clothes already absent. His muted TV set dancing technicolor lights across his velvety faux. From my position, just inside Logan's bedroom, I was treated to a visual buffet and a variable gallery of the very finest masculine goods, a frozen place incapable of processing such a splendor, even though I'd seen it all once before, all of it except for one specific endowment. Throughout my adult life, I had seen a number of different holes, but never have I seen one so pristine, so firm, and so tight, so delicate and pink, a perfect match for his incredibly cuddly pure white coat. To say I was in awe would be a colossal understatement. The silence was shattered by Logan's murmur, returning my focus to the matter at hand. I looked on, only to notice that something wasn't quite right. For one, Logan's expression was not one of eagerness and excitement, but of doubt and discomfort. In addition, someone anticipating a sexual encounter would likely show some signs of arousal. Yet Logan's junk sat limply, a reflection of his very own inner turmoil, that inspired a sense of empathy delivered from my own feelings of uncertainty and nausea. I began to approach, my confidence in the next action, reaffirmed by Logan's resulting flinch. I took the scenic route to the opposite side of the messy double bed, and ending up on top of the window side, where I kicked off my shoes and nonchalantly flopped down the bed beside him. He looked over at me with clear, visible confusion as I lay there, smiling back at him with all the warmth I could possibly muster. He trembled slightly, but the constant drone of the heater, fastened to the adjacent wall, was evidence enough that it wasn't the result of the night's distinct chill. What are you doing? What are you doing? Waiting to have sex with me. I know, but anybody can see you're hardly looking forward to it. No, I'm forward to it. Logan. He went silent, his dark blue eyes wide, and the unease as he looked over at me, breath shaking and trembling gently as he waited for me to speak. A strange feeling of lavender across his nostrils. Strange. Wait, was his penis always all the way down there? I'm gonna have to look back at previous videos. Give me 1 second. At least put my thing on here so I can go, hey, remember to go look at that. Because I can see it peeking out right down there. I also noticed that I had slid inward somewhat, Logan's bed sagging slightly towards the center from our combined weight. My sleeve was now touching his arm, and in due course, we'd be sandwiched together. I adjusted, moving back up to my side of the hill before finishing the statement. It's okay. Truth be told, I'm nervous too. Don't really know why either. I've done this sort of thing before, but for some reason, this time is different. Maybe I'm not used to guys who are so handsome as you are? Relax. It's true that, as it might be, I'm only teasing you. If you're not feeling it tonight, nothing needs to happen. It isn't too late to change your mind if you're not feeling comfortable. No, I want to, but this is new to me. I'm a little scared. I understand. Casual encounters like this aren't for everybody, and they can be nerve-wracking first time around, especially with somebody you barely know. No, that's not... I've never... Logan trailed off, incapable of finishing a sentence, and yet his body language sufficiently banked that filled in the blanks. A sharp incline discomfort being a dead giveaway of his mortifying shame. I knew exactly what he couldn't tell me. Surely that can't be right. I know you don't care much for relationships, but a sexy guy like you must have guys hitting you up all the time. No, it doesn't always work that way. I don't take much notice. Me neither, buddy. Then I was to be your first? Yes. You mean to say our horrible flirting actually worked? And here I was thinking I was a total disaster. It was. Gee, thanks. If that's the case, then why am I here? Logan sighed. His fists balled through both courage and out of frustration as he finally repositioned, revealing just what mess I got myself into as I once again pulled myself back towards the edge of the bed, not wanting to make things any more uncomfortable than they were. I'm sick of never having, done it. I'm 23. Everyone else did it a long time ago. I feel like I've missed out. Hey, I lost my virginity when I was 23. And, that's not a bad age to do it. You said that people have tried to sleep with you before, so why is it this time different? Why am I different? I didn't like them. Didn't feel comfortable with them. They weren't my type. They only wanted my body. You took the time to try and get to know me. You didn't pressure me. You left me with a choice, with your number. I wasn't gonna do it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I've wanted this for a long time. It was the perfect opportunity. I kept debating with myself. I have the message written for an hour or two. I kept hesitating. Then I got frustrated with myself. If not now, then when? And I knew things wouldn't be easier the next time I had the chance. I liked you more than the others. I closed my eyes and just did it. When you knocked, I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. I still do. It was jarring just how talkative and open Logan was suddenly become, almost though he'd conquered some kind of fear or inhibition in extending that invitation in the first place. Despite his lack of confidence during the moment, this was a big step for him, and most welcome one indeed. I felt the same way he did when I knocked on the door. I understood how he felt perfectly. I didn't want him to feel that way. I wanted him to be excited for this, not fear. You know, Logan, you can only use your virginity once, and relationships have a way of finding us. Really. Even when we're not looking for him. I'm certain that one day, one will find you, and you can save that special moment for someone important. I don't want that, though. I'm happy on my own. I don't like people much, and I like my own space, and my personality keeps people away. With something like this, I get to keep things the way I like them, but still have those other things on the side. Even if what you said did happen, the longer I wait, and the longer I leave it, the weirder it is, and I'd rather come with experience. I'd rather know what I'm doing. I suppose that all makes sense. You're right, though. You're pretty hard nut to crack. You also seemed interested at first, but you managed to kill that pretty quickly. The shark? Yeah, the shark. It works for me. From the moment I saw you, I knew what I wanted. I'm glad I didn't have to compete. I knew, but I still couldn't complain. A lot of things had changed since I moved to Woodcrest. Not least my habits and behaviors. It seemed as though I was slowly becoming someone I didn't recognize. It was confusing, and perhaps even a little scary. I considered Logan's desire for solitude. I considered my own doubts and frayed nerves. I considered how late it was, and that Diego would have just now arrived home to find me absent. Perhaps it was best if I left Logan to his own devices. I smiled at Logan before climbing out of bed, back to my feet, turned back to face him. His blue eyes once again met with mine. He looked confused. I thought... Huh? What's up? You said you wanted to be my friend, right? Oh, yeah, I did say that. But you never... I thought you'd be happier if I went. I scratched my head. Admittedly, I had been focused on the possibility of a sexual encounter, but I hadn't considered that Logan's invitation may have served to explore more than just one possibility. Then again, there had been no real mention of it until now. We could watch Descendants, if that's okay with you. Oh. It was a twist I hadn't anticipated, but one I found welcome. Logan had said earlier that he didn't have any friends, and that was by design. His words must have struck some kind of chord, as here he was, going out of his way to so courageously make one of me. It was strange, but I felt a little proud for him. It had only been a day, and yet Logan had already greatly come out of his shell. Once silent, distant, and unfriendly to a fault, Logan had grown far chattier and much more friendly. It warmed my heart. Descendants, that's a scary one, right? Am I gonna be okay watching this? It's not that scary. I wasn't good with that sort of thing, but I couldn't rightly turn Logan down, especially having shown such courage and effort. Besides, I hadn't been dishonest. I wanted to get to know him better. I'd barely scratched the surface, but I was already much too eager to see what I'd unearth next. You said earlier that we should get some popcorn. I have some. The lights are already off, and we can get cozy under the blankets, just like you wanted. He remembered every detail of my prior proposal, right down to the blankets. Admittedly, the latter had originally incorporated some sexual motivations, but I was more than happy of casting those aside to enjoy some good film, especially in good company of my brand new friend. Please? Sorry. I left him hanging as I'd been distracted, assessing the situation with my mind. I wanted to answer empathetically, to leave no room in which doubt might fester. I won this, and won Logan's confidence in my intentions. I'd love to watch a movie with you, Logan, and yes, we can do all those things. It sounds fun. Great, I'll go heat up the popcorn. Logan sprung to his feet with an excited vigor before scuttling from the room, his sturdy ursine tail rapidly beating back and forth like a marine motor, practically propelling him out forward on his own. His weight no longer applied. I corrected my position in the bed, yet again, this time with considerably less resistance. It was followed by the rustling coming from the direction of Logan's kitchen, and the sound of microwave bag being started. I think this might be a good time to call it, because, it's kind of a scene change. Though I'm wondering if I'm going to have to censor more dong. But that's going to be the end of this Let's Play. So, please comment, because I like comments. Tell me what you like, dislike, tips, tricks, otherwise. If you like my YouTube and like to see it grow, then please like, subscribe, and check out the videos to help it grow. And please remember to spay and neuter your animals to help control the pet population. And if you want to play this game, it's available free on the channel. But if you want to support the people that make this game and get the news version earlier, go to the Patreon, which is $5 a month, $54 a year. And until next time, let's be me, GamerWolfSix, Sileo, Tales of a New Dawn. So thanks and see ya.